on the government to declare war on Pakistan. Now, whether it was television alone that led to the hostage release in Kandahar, Ajit Doval. Yes, the same Mr. Doval.
Views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization.
Namaskar, friends. Hello and welcome to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Does news television fuel war? Let me raise that question again. Does news TV fuel a war? It's a troubling question, my friends, that's often been asked, and one which needs to be perhaps asked again amidst the growing tensions along the India-Pakistan border after the horrific Pahalgam terror attack. Just switch on any channel, or most channels, and you will probably see images that suggest that India and Pakistan are about to go to war. The background music will be of a decibel level that will burst your ears. The on-screen images will be of tanks, of bombs, of missiles. Angry voices will be heard on the street calling for "Khoon ka badla khoon" and "Mitti mein mila dege," "Aar paar ki ladai." You see, war games, my friends, are being played out on a television or at a television studio near you. The great BBC broadcaster, Sir Robin Day, was once quoted as saying, "Television tends to be a tabloid medium, at its best when there is war and disaster." Only in India, though, we have taken this notion of TV as a medium of war a tad too far. Every night, on prime time across most news channels, the sounds of cannons can be heard, not on the actual battlefield, but certainly on a TV screen. You might even see an anchor dressed up in battle fatigues. Or even if he has chosen to dress up in a jacket and tie, all he needs or she needs to do is get 4 or 5 retired army generals and soundbite soldiers to vent furiously. And the next thing you know, you have already declared war on Pakistan and crossed the LOC. No, not the actual line of control. LOC in a TV studio. A line where the lines between news and noise are totally blurred. At times, dangerously so. Because make no mistake, the war hysteria in TV studios can at times put inordinate crazy pressure on governments to act, often to act in a manner that may not be in the larger national interest. Let me rewind the clock in time to 1999, when the Kandahar hijacking took place on Christmas Eve that year and the BJP-led Atal Bihari Vajpayee government was in charge. News TV in India was still in a stage of infancy. We had, I think, 2 or 3 24/7 primetime news channels at best. Breaking news had not broken down. The hijack was a big story. The lives of several Indians, over 200 Indians, were at stake. The story became part of a round-the-clock news cycle. Angry relatives of the hostages soon gathered at the Prime Minister's residence and began demanding the immediate release of their loved ones. The hijackers, in the meantime, who were linked to the Pakistan terror state, had gone and put one condition: release 3 of the most dreaded terrorists who were in Indian prisons at the time: Maulana Masood Azhar, Mushtaq Zargar, and Omar Sheikh. Now, in normal times, a government would have resisted the pressure, or at least made the effort to resist pressure. But a hostage crisis in this nascent age of 24/7 TV is, it seems, not quite normal. Far from it. For 72 hours, therefore, News TV began constantly broadcasting the angry voices and cries of relatives demanding the instant release of all the hostages. Vajpayee's government didn't quite know how to handle this new beast in the news jungle. Pramod Mahajan was a key player in the Prime Minister's office at the time, and someone I knew rather well from my days as a journalist in Mumbai. I was handling the news flow at NDTV as managing editor there. Mahajan rang me up one evening, I recall, in the midst of the crisis. Arey Rajdeep, how long will you keep showing the same visuals of the hostage families again and again? कोई और news नहीं है क्या तुम्हारे पास? I tried explaining to the BJP leader that this story was not just a national story but had become a global story. Please understand now, this was a pre-TRP or television rating points era. The coverage was not being dictated by eyeballs and this competitive news frenzy that we see now with more than 400 news channels. This story, though, was simply too big to let go of. Mahajan at least understood a bit of the grammar of TV news. Most of the other senior ministers in the Vajpayee government were clueless. One of them reportedly told the Prime Minister, "Sir, the entire nation will turn against your government if the TV channels are not switched off." Vajpayee himself was a politician of the old newspaper era. He didn't really care much for TV and what it showed or didn't show. Quite unlike Narendra Modi, whose team is obsessed with every TV visual they see. Vajpayee also was never truly a hands-on prime minister in a sense. He had outsourced some of the crucial decision making to his principal secretary Brajesh Mishra. Mishra too was a bit of an old world diplomat, preferring to operate behind closed doors than in front of a TV camera. Mishra too told me that he was worried the impact the TV images were having on the national mood. In the negotiating team with the hijackers was the senior intelligence bureau official Ajit Doval. Yes, the same Mr. Doval, who is now the all-powerful national security advisor to Prime Minister Modi. Doval apparently wasn't keen on the hostage for terrorist swap. But he wasn't on the flight also with the terrorists with Jaswant Singh. But yet the truth is, he too was eventually very much part of the deal making with the hijackers. The TV screen pushed us to do the deal, Doval would later claim. The sight of the government of India, my friends, bending so easily before terrorists on New Year's Eve in 1999-2000 was surely the lowest point in India's fight against terror. Let's never forget, same Masood Azhar, who was released by the Vajpayee government at the time, is today one of India's most wanted, responsible for many terror attacks as the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief. Now, whether it was television alone that led to the hostage release in Kandahar can be disputed. I mean, surely the government of India ought to have been strong enough to resist pressure from primetime TV. Clearly, Vajpayee's government was not strong enough. By contrast, the much derided Manmohan Singh's government actually proved to be more resilient during the Mumbai 2008 terror attack. Then too there was enormous pressure from our army commando news channels on the government to declare war on Pakistan. Enough is enough were the screaming headlines. Dr. Singh's government resisted the pressure to go to war, instead following the doctrine of strategic restraint even while exposing Pakistan's terror links in international fora. What then of the Modi government, which truly lives and dies by the media? Well, as we saw with the surgical strike after Uri in 2016 and then with the Balakot air operation in 2019 after Pulwama, Prime Minister Modi likes to be seen and projected as a man of action. In his case, you could argue that instead of being led by TV narratives, Mr. Modi actually gets TV to follow him as if the TV channels are in a trance. Every move, including a closed-door meeting with service chiefs and key ministers, will play out on a TV screen near you. The sharp rhetoric will be reserved for election rallies of the Prime Minister, which are played out like an address to the nation and the wider world. Meanwhile, sources in the government will make sure that TV channels repeatedly have headlines or anchors speaking of giving Pakistan a muh-tod jawab, of the Prime Minister having given the armed forces full freedom to act against Pakistan. Net, and this is important, for Prime Minister Modi, the TV news screen is an important ally to be used as part of a vast communication arsenal that will keep the public mood engaged and on a constant excitable high. The only danger in this strategy is that it can spiral out of control if it isn't carefully calibrated. Because even if the decision makers are men of some experience who wish to hasten slowly, the TV news warriors simply won't let them take time. They want war almost instantly, as if it is a cup of instant coffee. Which brings me back to my original question. Does TV fuel war? The answer has to be a bit of a yes and no. No, TV channels don't decide a country's security decisions, and thank God for that. But yes, a large section of the TV media in the Modi age is like an armed battalion on constant high alert. Only this battalion operates within the confines of an air-conditioned TV studio, not in the heat and dust of deserts and mountains. TV channels and their anchors aren't going to get bloodied by war, which is why it is so much easier to screech Desh Mange Badla in a TV studio. No one dies, my friends, in a TV war or in TRP battles. People die and get bloodied in the battlefield. I hope you recognize the difference. That was the Straight Bat. Do, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind, Namaskar.